Several hours later, once the lawyer, Lai, and Guo left the police station in the car, the lawyer informed them both that the situation had already been suppressed. While he was driving the car, Lai took out a cigar and started smoking. The lawyer explained to them that since only a small number of people knew about this matter, if they handled it properly, then the impact on both of them would not be so great. He also added that what Mr. Wang had meant was that they should work well together to pacify the masses. While Lai was smoking his cigar, he began to stare at the lawyer and replied that they were already aware of this. Guo simply turned his head slightly towards him and remained silent, listening without saying a word. Lai took the cigar away from his mouth, and while exhaling the smoke from his lungs, he stared into the lawyer's eyes and with a smile explained that those lower-class people could easily be taken care of with condolence money and supplies. Guo slightly turned his head to the other side and while staring into Lai's eyes, smiled and asked him not to say this kind of thing. He explained to both of them that public opinion on the internet was still the most important, so with photos of them shaking hands with the victims' families and giving condolence money, it would be more than enough. He also explained to Lai that first they had to get reporters to write favorable stories about them, so that finally a press conference could be held to refute the rumors, and in this way people would believe them. With a smile, he revealed to both of them that reversing a reputation was quite easy. Lai clenched his teeth tightly and explained to Guo that just the thought of having to pretend in front of those idiots caused him an inexplicable irritation. Guo turned his head towards him and began staring into his eyes. One of Guo's eyes transformed into the eye of a mutant. With a smile, he asked Lai to be patient as it was now a special moment for their emperor's transformation. He also added that only by appeasing the masses would they be able to facilitate their future. While Guo was staring into Lai's eyes, he revealed to him that this way they could obtain food supplies. Lai looked to the side and while smoking his cigar, he replied that he already knew this. While they were talking, someone attacked Guo with a sword, cutting off his head. Seeing this, Lai was shocked. As Guo's blood slowly dripped onto his face, he began to wonder what was happening. At that moment, Tian Ran appeared and with a murderous look, he began to stare into Lai's eyes and asked him what food they were talking about. Upon seeing that the person who had attacked Guo was Tian Ran, Lai stared into his eyes and asked him how dare he attack them. Tian Ran quickly climbed onto the car roof. Lai reminded him that they were influential congressmen. He also added that if he messed with them, he would only be seeking certain death. Upon seeing Tian Ran, the lawyer who was driving the car accelerated and sharply turned the car to make him fall off the roof. Lai started to get scared. He pressed himself against the car window, and while staring into Tian Ran's eyes, he explained that he hadn't done anything wrong. Tian Ran simply unsheathed his sword and while giving Lai a murderous look, he revealed that he knew they had both eaten the mutant egg. He also added that now their blood could only be purified because they had renounced being human beings. Upon hearing this, the lawyer became scared and quickly started turning the steering wheel of the car to make Tian Ran fall off the roof. Tian Ran began staring into the lawyer's eyes, then brought the blade of his sword close to his face and with a smile, told them that the fun had only just begun. Several minutes later, Tian Ran ended both the lawyer's and Lai's lives by causing the car to lose control and crash into a tree. Tian Ran opened the car door and the mutant eggs came out from Lai and Guo's insides. Even though the carriers were no longer alive, the egg remained intact and started moving. Quickly, Tian Ran noticed this and without hesitation, he stomped on the egg, completely destroying it. After doing this, he took out a level 4 tomato and ate it. While he had the sword resting on his shoulder, a system window appeared in front of him to inform him that evolution had been successfully completed. The system congratulated him for achieving the type of evolution called atavistic, for awakening the ability called flash, and for doubling his basic attributes. As he was looking at the system window, he thought that this was already the 40th divine cherry tomato gain he had eaten. Despite having eaten so many tomatoes, he had obtained the weakest evolution. Tian Ran took out another tomato and ate it again. Then another system window appeared to inform him that the evolution direction had been reset. Then another system window appeared and congratulated him for achieving the evolution type called atavistic, for awakening the ability called strength, and for doubling his basic attributes. While he had the sword resting on his shoulder, he burped because he was already full. Despite this, he decided to eat another tomato. Although so far he had only achieved the evolution type called atavistic, he thought it was more than enough for now. While he was lost in his thoughts, something caught his attention, leaving him surprised. At that moment, his eyes began to shine, and then another system window appeared to inform him that the evolution direction had been reset, and another evolution had been successfully completed. The system also congratulated him for obtaining a rare type evolution. Tian Ran's body started emitting a powerful energy. His head and eyes began to shine, and another system window appeared to congratulate him for obtaining the evolution type called Intelligent Brain. Tian Ran gained an ability called telepathy, and his basic attributes doubled. While his eyes were shining, he began to stare at the system window and thought that this was quite interesting. He was curious to know what the function of the telepathy ability was, so he extended his hand forward, causing his body to emit waves in all directions. Several minutes later, he started feeling the presence of animals around the area. Since he could only sense the presence of a rabbit and a squirrel, he came to the conclusion that this ability had a range of only 10 meters for detecting living beings. While he was distracted, a bird started hopping in front of him. He quickly looked down, and upon seeing the bird, he had an idea. He grabbed the bird with his hand, causing it to start chirping. Tian Ran began to wonder what would happen if he had direct contact with a living being while the ability was active. He brought the bird close to his face, and the bird started moving its body abruptly. At that moment, Tian Ran was able to hear the bird telling him that it was hungry and wanted to eat rice. While he was staring at the bird, he became confused. It didn't take him long to come to the conclusion that when he touched a living creature, he could feel what it was thinking. Tian Ran decided to let go of the bird, and it flew away, telling him that birds were good and people were bad. He started walking away from the car and thought that it wasn't enough yet. He decided to call Lan Ning before embarking on a new evolutionary path. Several hours later, Tian Ran went to the hospital, and after checking all the rooms, he sat in a corner, leaning one hand on the floor, placing the other hand on his knee, and made a call to Lin Ning using the headset. He explained to him that the person locked up in the hospital was not the same person he was looking for. Upon hearing this, Lan Ning became quite confused and explained to him that this person was the same one who had appeared on the electronic eye. Tian Ran lifted his head, and while staring ahead with a lost look, he explained to Lan Ning that the prisoner had been replaced by someone who looked very much like him. Lan Ning asked him to wait a little while he went to search again. He called Tian Ran boss and asked him not to worry because he could still find the target no matter what. Several minutes later, Lan Ning found the target and sent a message to Tian Ran with the location. Tian Ran took out his phone, and while looking at the message, Lan Ning explained that the target was always on the move. He also added that if it didn't appear within range of the electronic eye for a while, then he would have to find it himself since he wouldn't be able to help. Tian Ran opened the map, and upon seeing that the target was underground, he realized why he hadn't been able to perceive its presence. Tian Ran's target was a man wearing a white robe who belonged to the cult. The man began walking through the sewers, and while he was distracted, someone started approaching him at high speed. Luckily, he was able to sense the attacker's presence and quickly turned his head back. In the blink of an eye, the man moved his body to one side and was able to dodge the attack at the last second. This man was none other than Xiao Sheng, the cult leader, and the person who had attacked him called him a bastard and explained that he had been looking for him everywhere. Upon hearing this, Xiao Sheng turned his head to one side, and upon seeing that the person who had attacked him was Tian Ran, he began to stare into his eyes and started smiling. While Tian Ran was holding the sword with one hand, he began to look at Xiao Sheng with a murderous gaze and started to get angry. Upon seeing that one of Xiao Sheng's eyes was the same as Lai and Guo's, he realized that he had also eaten a mutant egg. He quickly came to the conclusion that his reflexes had become faster thanks to the mutant egg. Tian Ran attacked Xiao Sheng again, but he once again effortlessly dodged the attack, causing Tian Ran's sword to hit the wall. Seeing this, Tian Ran told him that he wouldn't be able to dodge the next attack. He began attacking Xiao Sheng with a series of cuts, but to his surprise, Xiao Sheng was able to dodge most of them. However, in the process, one of the attacks cut his arm. Upon seeing this, Xiao Sheng was left speechless as he couldn't believe that Tian Ran had been able to hit him. As his own blood slowly dripped onto his face, he began to stare into Tian Ran's eyes and couldn't help but become enraged. Xiao Sheng gathered momentum and in the blink of an eye, took a few small jumps and quickly reached the other side of the water. He slightly lowered his head, and with a sinister look, he began to stare into Tian Ran's eyes. While Tian Ran was holding the sword with both hands, he slightly turned his head back, and while staring directly into Xiao Sheng's eyes, he asked if he was trying to escape. Instead of attempting to flee, Xiao Sheng simply stood still and started staring back at him with a sinister gaze. Tian Ran thought that he was mocking him, so he gathered momentum and in the blink of an eye reached Xiao Sheng. While looking into his eyes, he prepared to finish him off using the sword. Instead of trying to dodge the attack, Xiao Sheng simply stood still. At that moment, slowly some black insects began to approach Tian Ran. Just before he could attack Xiao Sheng, The little insects reached his sword blade and started to surround it. Seeing this, he became quite confused and began to wonder what was happening. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.